we interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
I'm back. That still has a nice beat to it. Still seated twerking to bounce. New year, and that song still has a vibe in 2025. Also, it's time for a new intro. I am in with a podcast change. I added the F.A.A.F.O to it, but I'm back with the same formula that has allowed me to be successful in the past. I've set realistic intention. I plan on being present and following through, but I still intend to remain petty and hold grudges. Not all intentions need to be positive. Also, I will be unengaged and unbothered by people and things in my life that do not serve me. That means parasitic people, unsolicited judgments, biased newspapers, and mainstream banks. I will not apologize for maintaining my mental peace. Happy and unbothered and at peace because I'm at unbothered. All day, every day, being unbothered is my way. Join me. I think we're right in the middle of witnessing the beginning of the biggest global scam as it has to do with AI and maybe even crypto on a global level being perpetuated by multiple governments. And I'm here for it. But as far as this episode, it's just going to be a compilation of some of my fraud and other scams that I have actually produced previously on my podcast. I hope you enjoy this wild ride in real life as well as what I've actually just commented on on my podcast. So enjoy. Is in alignment with a podcast segment dedicated to a fictional PI and all about true crime, or fictional crime in this case. Don't you think? When I decided to do this compilation, I had no idea that I don't know what I thought. Did I really think that crime was going to stop? I guess, because there are so many people that think that it's okay to just do evil things. I'm looking online and learning more and more about the scam of it all, how duplicitous people are, and they are okay with getting or stealing from you. The days of just the Nigerian prince are still here. They're now under the guise of Korean, North Korean, South Korean, Japanese. It seems like everybody is on the take. I'm cool with everybody trying to level up. But why are you doing at the expense of everybody else? Why do you think it's okay to take other people's money? I can't and won't understand that. So when I started this section, I was mostly just dealing with crypto, but those scams seem to be a dime a dozen. Romance scam, not even a thing of the past. Now we got full agencies or parts of agencies dedicated to bringing down international crime. There is, I was contacted, or continue to be contacted by these companies that are really into remote IT. And it seems that these scams took an uptick when everybody moved to remote back during the Panorama Pro V. But it just seems like these Koreans have taken it to a whole other level. There appears to be a group of people that decided that they were going to take everybody down. We got Adricus Fagnese, we got Jason Salazar, and Alexander Paul Travis. All pleaded guilty to one count of wire fraud and conspiracy. They allowed North Korean scammer to use their identities to get employment with U.S. companies, and then they subsequently stole from these U.S. companies. They got thousands and thousands of dollars in money, but the overall scam was over 2 million large. They basically got these salaries were paid to these scammers, went back to Korea. These fools didn't even see this money themselves because the vast majority of the money went back overseas, almost untraceable. But this is, and they also had the help of one Ukrainian. It would be so much easier if people just work hard to actually legitimately make money, to make entry into some of these jobs easier for people if they just did it the legitimate way. Because can you imagine if they were legit and they actually made a legitimate effort to have legit remote workers and that money could stay here? And we wouldn't have to be having people worrying about trying to get $2,000 in tax break. Girl, ain't nobody got time for that. If people would just use their brain power for good, how much further would humankind be? That's what I ask myself most of the time. And how much more that we all could be further ahead from a financial standpoint. If we tried to do this stuff legitimately, we wouldn't have to take 15 steps forward and then to take 18 steps back. It would just be a lot easier. And we would be able to just continue to work smarter, not harder, and still keep a lot of our scratch. Why wouldn't we legitimately work to create generational wealth, or even in the here and now, so we wouldn't have to people wouldn't have to resort to crazy? But I think some people like the drama of it all because they would rather risk it instead of risking it in the volatile stock market legitimately. They would rather just let you risk it and then steal all of your gains. That makes no sense to me. I just would wish people would just have a clue and realize that it's easier to make money legitimately and to be secure without having to try to rob somebody or get something that doesn't really belong to you. Because those gains last a lifetime, because all that other stuff is fleeting. I wish my own family members on my father's side would actually remember that. It's fleeting. You try to dupe your own family, you're going to get got yourself. And then you're going to serve time for it. Not only are you're going to lose everything that you stole, then you're going to have to owe more, and it's not worth it. It really isn't. Well, children, gather around. Here we go again with a $500 million magic show. Who's on the hook for about $500 million large? BlackRock, one of the large investment managers in the world, got their pockets ran for $500 million. Think about that. A little Indian dude with his old bobble came up with the idea that used his accounts receivable, and for customers, for people, business world, and not, that is who owes you money. and used it as collateral to secure a $500 million loan from BlackRock. Except he faked his invoices. Basically, their contracts were fictitious, fake email domains, and non-existent clients. Who did their due diligence by handing over these millions in the booming private credit market, but they actually missed that whole part where somebody was chasing the number but not doing their due diligence because it was a paper kingdom, meaning there was a lot of fakeness going on. So they basically then, after the money was transferred to an offshore account, the investors became unreachable. Investigators showed up at the office, the doors were locked, the building was quiet, money gone. And now they end up in court in this massive lawsuit because they want their money back. But is it insured? These loans insured? What are they insured for? And how do you trace that grip? Can't reverse the credit once it's already gone out. They wired that money, gone. It is so massive and embarrassing. But they got caught slipping. BlackRock manages hundreds of billions of dollars, maybe up to $1 trillion at this point, and they still can get got. And this hurts my feelings about lost money. I just want to increase my margins on my little piddly retail account. And Charles Schwab is like, nah, girl, you're going to have to wait and come up, make sure what you actually do have investments will actually come to fruition before we call this margin. It's crazy to me. It's absolutely crazy to me. I'm still researching things like my futures contract, my daily summaries, and all the legal entries into my ledgers as far as that particular account on a monthly basis. So I'm still trying to understand those statements while I'm trying to explore what I actually have in balances and how my positions are doing. But this is such elementary due diligence. Before any amount of money over a certain amount or any amount, I'm going to need to see validation of your customers. Maybe they think their soup too big, or nobody in this day of secondary verification would actually realize that they faked all of this. But I'm sure Japhis thought she was going to do this smoke and mirrors and fake it till she make it. Nah, this was a straight up fraud. And he had some legitimate business, but he wasn't as big, and not as many people owed him on the level that he was trying to get the money he was trying to move. It just boggles the mind. Even the really smart money managers at BlackRock, you can still get got. So what can happen to little people like me? I don't got $500, let alone 500 million to let somebody and just let the money just bleed through my fingers. I really don't. So that I'll actually leave the links to the article that I read from the Wall Street Journal. But we are living in a time where these cases are going to become more outrageous. We're talking about out and out theft. We're talking about even pump and dump scams. They're just getting bigger and bolder as the information age and as we march into this volatile financial world of it all. But if you stay really true to yourself, you truly do your due diligence, and you know how to read when someone and dig into these financial statements and understand what truly is going on. Is it smoke and mirrors, or is it a legit business entity? because ain't nobody got time to lose any type of money. And 500 million is crazy to me. For the past several months, my focus has really changed on how can I get my money to work for me, being very, not really frugal. Well, yeah, not spending my money on stupid stuff, and how can I make money and not lose money. And I try to invest or figure out which investments will give me the largest, literally the largest bang for my buck. I was with the meme coin craze. I want to go from meme to actual altcoin on the level of Ripple and XRP. But there are other people that really are just out here trying to rip people off. They're not trying to work for anything. They're not trying to build anything. They're just trying to take. The latest is one of the many operations, large scale, that are going on in Africa. It's a multi-agent, multinational, large-scale fight against against fraud involving cryptocurrency and other cyber crimes. One of the biggest was Operation Serengeti, from June through August of 2025, involving 18 African countries and the UK. Basically, over $300 million was actually stolen or lost. There's 65,000 victims identified, and it's a huge online. 15 individuals have been apprehended and counting. What some of these people bet on is the anonymity of the dark web and the web in general. But they really are operating on such a large scale, it is very scary. If anybody reaches out to you and promise high yield crypto returns, run. Don't even ask any questions. I don't need anybody to assist me in getting the coins or XRP. I don't need to piggyback. I don't need somebody to have any access to the little bit of cash that I do have. I'm not going to give that access. And I know there's a certain amount of risk that's involved with investment. But if it really is, if they say if it seems too good to be true, you're right. Trust your gut and just see and follow your eyes. If it doesn't make sense. And in this world, there is a risk that's associated with returns, but you got to be sane about it. You talking about 50%? Who gets 50%? Nobody. You just got to be smart about who you operate with and who you let in, because ultimately there are scammers, and this is only one of them in Zambia. There was an Angola where the 60 Chinese nationals were over there stealing power to mine crypto. It's absolutely crazy. Out of the $300 million that was stolen, only 97.4 million have actually been recovered. And so the rest of you, the people that got, you ain't gonna see your money again. Y'all just gotta be careful. Then they got the all-around scams involving SIM cards, which nobody has anymore. In this country, almost all the SIMs are eSIMs, so you don't have to worry about that. You can't just slide and change phones and do all of that. It's all in the cloud. And then there's several people have been arrested in between Kenya and, of course, Nigeria. And it's also been associated with human trafficking and other international scams. So all some of it is truly tied to hiding illicit funds by using crypto and making the transfers uh, almost disappear or almost invisible. But in the grand scheme of things, what goes on in the dark web is going to come to the light. And there are just so many other crimes that are out there just waiting to be got. Because even though you don't think there is a record of it, there is a record of that transaction and the way the ledger it works, and with all of the fail-safe to get the to quantify and ratify the transaction that's traceable. So it's not; these are not victimless crimes. These are or become high profile. The more money that's involved. So I would actually just be careful, mind your P's and Q's, protect your back, and keep your head on swivel, because there's a whole bunch of forces out here, real and unrealized, that are out to basically run your pockets. All I can is say be careful. Invest, but invest prudently with reputable people. Don't reach out to me on any social media, because number one, I'm off, and no reputable investor or an accountant or some guru is going to just unsolicited hit you up on social media. No, that doesn't happen. Stick with what you know. Go to Charles Schwab or your bank at J.P. Morgan Chase and talk to one of the wealth advisors, or talk to some if you got that kind of money. But don't trust to get unsolicited anything from anybody that you don't know and is not in real life. Be very careful who you let in, and definitely who you let into your pockets. Scams and such. So one of the things that I actually get a kick out of watching, besides my crime shows, I'm going to move away from this. But Stephen McBee is the patriarch of a family in Middle America. They all look like each other. They all look like him. Even the blonde one. I was looking at their last episode season finale this past week, and even he has that pie face. And I want to say they First Nation, but I'm not sure. I suspect it, but I don't know if it's out there like that. But anyways, recently I've been following it because last year he was convicted of federal charges by taking illegal crop insurance benefits. I think they were doing a whole bunch of stuff. They were staging equipment, multi-million-dollar equipment being stolen, even though it's a small town. Somebody know where that stuff is. Millions of dollars worth of equipment being stolen, and then crops being damaged, or they're losing crops, but that all phantom fraud. He was convicted. But his sentencing has been pushed back a few times. Actually, for the fourth time now, it's been pushed back all the way to October of this year. He was actually supposed to have been sentenced as early as March, but then it got delayed and delayed and delayed. And the reason why I only bring it up in this portion of what did you think was going to happen is because they pushed it back, but he's been ordered to turn over 3 expensive watches, 2 Tag Heuers and a Rolex Daytona. You know, most people know about the Rolex Daytona because I think Paul Newman wore one. Or was it Steve McQueen? I don't know. Somebody that liked to race cars. But I digress. And I think it's just rich, or as such, that you can be a farmer, have a multi-million dollar, it sounded fishy and scammy, multi-million dollar investment that falls through, and you basically cheat on your wife, who you eventually divorce with the CFO of the company, and then you cheat on her with her girlfriend, her best friend. Yeah, and you do all of this, and you still out looking at 30 years, but only thing you have to give up so far is 3 watches. And what farmer has 3 expensive designer watches? I don't know. Not in my world. But there's another one, and this comes out of the great state of North Kakalaki. 4 men indicted in Raleigh for a scheme that exploited security weakness and took $500,000 from the state employees credit union. How is that possible? Let's see, between April and September of 2022, the 4 recruited friends, family, and acquaintances who gave them access to their cards and PIN numbers. Then the men made numerous deposits and withdrawals in account, knowing that the SECU had an overnight reconciliation period during which all day's transactions were tallied. During this downtime, the SEC's computer systems would not know the true value in the accounts, letting the defendants make sham transactions and inflate the amount of money available for withdrawal. In return, the defendants promised the members a share of the large withdrawals they made. So it's basically like a new age check kiting scheme where you go to the bank, cash a check, you open up a checking account, or you basically steal somebody's checks, go in the bank, and basically withdraw a large amount. This is before the days before they could actually get almost instant confirmation of the amount in the account. Basically, this is what they're actually doing. And they did it for a while because it took them, what is this, 2025? They did it for the better part of 2022, and now just 3 years later, they're finding out that they gamed the system for 500 grand, and they finally shut them down. And now, how widespread it is, and the ringleaders are being charged. But I've always said this: the government, all the boys, the FBI, they have a 96% conviction rate. They get their man, they want their coins, or you're going to do some time, nonviolent or not. But what did you think was going to happen? That y'all were going to get away scot-free? We're talking about 500 large y'all tried to game the system for. Lord Jesus, y'all stupid. Just coming off a great PTO, and even though I did not leave the country, like visit Canada like I wanted to, I did have the best staycation I could have ever had. And I think I needed just a time to unwind, float in my pool, get ideas, or just write them down. It was probably the best of all things. And even though this is Sunday and I usually don't like to podcast or tape on Sundays anymore, this was necessary. I think I needed that extra time to get my thoughts in order and just relax and just let the encouragement and the what is that word? What is the word where you start to create? When I actually got the urge to create, it wasn't really until today. It took several more days of floating in my pool, getting my mind right, and also being resolved that I wasn't going to win 1 point some billion dollars, but I could actually create my own billionaire status, not by winning the lottery, but actually by winning just at life and by my token. Back in July, I thought that if Chump can create their tokens, I can create my token. Sorry for that background noise. But I'm still very much interested in scams and figuring out scams and just basically creating my own separate stream of income without having to work myself to death. But so I have educated myself as far as what does it mean as far as cryptocurrency, different networks, how to create a your own token using Bitbond, which is I think is reputable and it's also secure and safe, and linking the correct chain up to the correct wallet so you can actually manage a your whatever token. Also, after this token sale ends, which I may actually end it tomorrow, I'm not sure. Now I know what I should have done. I should have actually become more creative as far as creating a coin, becoming familiar with the technology, knowing that one of the biggest, and I'll probably talk about that next week. The newest scam is the scammers have tried to figure out vulnerabilities in smart contracts, and they're basically stealing billions from people with that whatever vulnerability that is. But also, if I'm going to be successful in creating my own cryptocurrency, I'm going to need to be able to figure out um, a network like XRP has, how I'm going to use all of those things to support what the good things that I want my Afro Druids meme coin to do. So, but most of what my scams that I've actually been reading about as of late have been about along the lines of Ponzi schemes and crypto. They've gotten even more savvy than what Bernie Madoff put the world through. And it will make them blush because these also what they're called rug pools have built billions from investors. And it's again, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is a scam. And if somebody basically tells you who they are, for example, if my coin was named Scam Coin, which I saw that coin just launched not too long ago, they're telling you that this is a scam. And if you invest, they're not being ironic. They are telling you that this is a scam. They going to get to a certain point, then they're going to pull the rug. So don't invest in any coin that have either a whole bunch of promises or that the hype around the coin is more than what the value truly could be of the coin. If they're not based on anything, if they're not trying to do anything like the Trump coin, actually the Trump coin is probably a scam, and they're setting you up for a multi-billion-dollar rug pull on the level of Bernie Madoff. Even though reports of rug pulls is decreasing, the value lost with these scams has increased significantly. For example, I'm actually creating a detailing a the details of the Wolf of Wall Street token rug pull that happened back in March in 2025. This was tied to Hayden Davis, who was also involved in another rug pull called the Libra scam. After rumors of a celebrity endorsement, because that's how a lot of these, for example, I think, what's her name? Haley Bailey, Justin Bieber's wife. She's now, she's merged her makeup with Sephora, and they were celebrating it on CNBC Friday. But I wonder if we're going to find out that it's breaking people's skin out, and the quality of it is not on the level of Sacred or Fenty, Beyonce, and Rihanna's. And why can't they have prompted their launches, haven't prompted so much fanfare as the white girl? But I digress. And why did it take between February and March of this year, this same uh person has been tied to two multi-billion-dollar rug pulls? Why is he allowed to operate like this? Let's see, images of Hayden. Good old, wait a minute. What's the name? Hayden. Hayden Davis. Hayden Davis. Scammer. Crypto scammer. And why are they allowed to operate? Yeah, he's a dorky, red-headed white boy. Grifts and hacks. He chopping it up. Offshore alert. Holy crap-a-moly. And y'all, and it's just basically counterfeiting and cult murder. I don't know. I just think that people, again, they get this like fresh face scammer who looked like he was generated by AI. Looks innocuous, but these are the biggest of the scammers. They basically, how they operate is they create such a big hype around a certain token, and you can basically say uh they actually hype. There's this massive price spike uh that's funneled into the coin, and then the developer, in this case Hayden, goes out, snipes, takes all the basically coins, and then disappears. uh they basically operate, and the more anonymous it is, they promise you, oh, you're going to get into this big deal before everybody else is. The usual scam logic they try to pull on you. And then they just disappear with not only your bank, and a lot of people, like I talked about, an $800,000 scam um um week before last, how this other scam involving a church, millions and millions of dollars, where the biggest baller in the neighborhood with the $50,000 square foot house is owned by a preacher. And how is that possible? The losses, even though nobody's reporting this because there's no transparency and you don't really know, the rug pull losses soared to 6,500%. And just in 2025, this was just, they reported this back in April. So 4 months into the new year, we get a felon for president, and we get a 6,500% increase in crypto scams. It's crazy. What other statistics are associated with this? As reported by DAP Radar back in April, even though the rug pulls dropped by 66%, that value of the losses has increased by 6,500%. They're usually associated with meme coins as primary culprits. All the developers are anonymous, and they also have evolving tactics, including flash loan attacks, fake audits, AI generated white papers, and then leveraging social media hype to appear legitimate. That's why, to protect yourself from these schemes, you should research the project and the team, check liquidity and lockup, verify that the project's liquidity is locked for a significant period, and legitimate projects use time locked smart contract to prevent developers from draining the liquidity pool. Audit the smart contract. Use caution with new projects and diversify your investments, avoiding putting all your funds into a single high risk token. And always perform your own research. Do your own research. DYOR. They use a lot of acronyms and symbols in crypto. And that's one I'm actually going to put into the notes for this part of the segment. The bottom line is, again, if it sounds too good to be true, you don't know who the developers are. You can't, there's no lockup on liquidity. It smells like a scam. It looks like a scam. Dude, it is a scam. So therefore, be careful out there. And also take a look and put it on repeat as much as possible. Uh, if you like what you see as far as my YouTube video, just let me know and play it often. And thank you for listening. So, bubbles, toils, and troubles. What is going on with the AI bubble? And what is circular financing? I can truly state that I am learning more from just investing and researching and investing and tolerating some of the talking points on shows like CNBC and even Bloomberg, and trying to understand as much as I possibly can about finance and financial market, because I'm in the stage where 80-hour work weeks is not for me. Working overnight, being called, and a whole bunch of life or death situations, I'm good on that. I think my background in medicine has just taught me how to process large volumes of information, how to do research, and what you can actually use as what good research means. Learning as much as about companies that I can. Learning who fared the best in the last pullback, who has the financing to pull back in to handle a market downturn, and making sure that what I have saved and built and gained is actually protected if there is a major pullback. Everybody went crazy in this I wouldn't call it a crash. Yes, the stock market fell to in worst performance in a very long time. But in the grand scheme of things, the latest pullback or correction was just that, a correction, because we were talking about everybody has been making money. And a lot of the 1-2% have made more money. And a lot of it surrounds AI. Granted, I honestly believe, and yes, before I say that, yes, I did lose some value in my brokerage account because I'm a mom and pop retail investor. And I believe that people like me don't have a lot of room for mistakes and to lose a great amount of money. But my portfolio at this time is such that give back was definitely or simply a small part of what my overall investments were. So I didn't lose my shirt like some. There was a major pullback in crypto. And again, not a lot of what I have invested in crypto, I didn't take much of a big hit. But what is lending to not only the need for energy and data centers, etc., besides crypto, is AI. And I saw this diagram on CNBC last week that I wanted to take a deeper dive in, talking about circular financing. OpenAI, Nvidia, AMD, Oracle, CoreWeave are at the basis of this. They are so interconnected that many analysts believe that their investments in each other are creating and inflating valuations and revenues. It harkens back to the dot-com bubble of the 90s and 2000s. This circular demand, although it can be very profitable, but unknowing people like myself, we're the ones that are going to pay for this. For example, it is when a supplier invests in a customer, the customer then uses the capital of that supplier, and then they book it as revenue. Really, it's very closed loop, and it's not sustainable. We've seen these recently, these mega billion-dollar deals for equity where Nvidia, a chip maker, invests $100 billion technology for equity. AI then uses the cash and other funds to commit to other deals for their chips and data center capacity by buying up using Broadcom and other companies like CoreWeave. They both see their stock soar, and it makes them easier for the entire ecosystem to raise more capital. They could raise capital, but most people wouldn't invest in these companies, fly-by-night companies, just because they have AI in the name or some other type of cachet. Right now, the valuation of CoreWeave, even though it tanked recently, it actually went up in value again. At one point, it was trading very close to below like $90 a share. When I sold my options, they had soared as high as 151 before they actually pulled back to correction levels. Who also took a hit? Between Nvidia, CoreWeave, and Oracle, all of them have receded in this current correction. But yes, lost some value, but it doesn't hearken to the Lucent where they actually where they were just crooks. So what is the issue? Because when your supplier is your customer and there's some shenanigans going on in the books, your valuation is greatly distorted. OpenAI, or Tom the weirdo, their current CEO has said that they don't have any problem staying private and raising money. And it's wild to me that that company is actually valued at $500 billion, but they have a large operating loss. How is that? They don't make anything. And a lot of this circular inflated funding model is what is based, and they're not all that transparent because they're a private company. If a key player like OpenAI fails to achieve some type of profitability necessary to sustain this massive infrastructure, there's so many companies like Nvidia and AMD and CoreWeave that could basically crash on this information. What we're seeing is these transactions and this inflation is causing a very dangerous bubble. And there's financial engineering versus long-term verifiable customer cash flows, because they're trading equity for pennies on the stock. But where's the money? Are they printing money, or are they mining Bitcoin to create more capital? This harkens back to vendor financing. When Lucent and Nortel inflated their margins and where their real cash flow, because they were floating large amounts of financing to these customers that could never pay them back for their orders. And when that bubble burst, the business model itself was not profitable. So there was a whole bunch of defaulting on loans based on some inflated revenues. Everything that they booked was fake. And they ended up only having a bunch of bad debt. Then the entire loop snapped, huge write-downs. And I don't believe anybody went to jail, even though it brokered in one of the largest stock market crash since the Depression. And then we had the mortgage crisis and the implosion of Lehman Brothers. So these types of circular financing and dubious and your revenues being propped up by bad debt, all is a recipe for a bubble. And when that bubble goes pop, a lot of people, include mostly the little man and the retail investors, actually get hit. And the money's just not there. So beware and be careful. And know that this model in itself is not sustainable. You can hope and you can pray, but you also have to be careful to protect your margins. Take your profits when you can and keep it pushing, and truly invest and not look for just a quick come up, but also a sustainable means to build generational wealth instead of having to be in the federal bankruptcy court. You can take the girl out of the hood, but you can't take hood music out the girl. But I'm going to end this with a word, just as I started this podcast. Do or do not do. There is no try. And that's a word from Yoda. I hope I have conveyed just how much fun I have had in creating this podcast. I've got my mojo back. Just set your intention or reset your intention. It could be daily if necessary. Mine is peace. No mental dumping over here. If I'm acting like I'm not listening, I'm probably not. I'm not your therapist. I'm not a therapist. Keep the crazy to yourself, child. You do you and leave me be. The sooner you figure that ish out, the happy you will be. So this is what I want to convey in this podcast. And that wraps another of F.A.A.F.O has a fro. Join me next time as I throw shade and point out the shade and simply have fun. Y'all have a great new year. What, y'all? What?